um, okay, talking to more about how you are able to overcome challenges and do the best in their place of their school or their place of assignment. So we have Patricia here, we have Baraka, we have Nia. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. While they do that, then they're going to go ahead and do their presentation. So we're going to have Patricia go first. She'll introduce herself, tell us more about her work, and also do justice to the topic that we have for today, which I believe many of us would be great, find it a great opportunity to get answers to those questions. We've seen your questions, those who fill the form, and we'll take those questions at the end of all the speakers' presentation. So, but if in case you have more questions to ask, you type them on the chat box, and we'll also look at them if we have more time to do so. So I'll hand over to Patricia to go ahead with that presentation.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Great to see you all here, and thank you for the opportunity to share this topic that I think is really important and something that I've come face with on my own right now as well this year. I'm going to share a presentation, and in it I got the presentation of myself. Is that okay? Shall I go ahead, or would you like me to just present myself? Would that be okay? Yeah. Okay. So today we're dealing with something that I feel is a very important subject, because last year I was working in a school where everything was quite easy to follow through, because it was an IB school and everything ran on different philosophies. This year, however, I've run into some problems. So let me just tell you a little bit more about myself very quickly, okay? I am of Swedish origin. I've done basically largely British education. I've grown up here in Gran Canaria in Spain, but also I've been living in different places in Europe. I consider myself a citizen of the world, so I don't really feel that I'm from anywhere. We're all part of this world. I was a global schools advocate last year, and that experience was amazing. Went on to be a mentor this year, and I'm really enjoying the little group I've got. And we've also done some larger group meetings with other mentor groups and mentee groups as well. I've been teaching for about 25 years, more or less, and basically right now my current employment is in a British school teaching English literature and Spanish first language literature and language. So I'm going to go on to tell you a little bit about the challenges and adversities that I've bumped into this year. Basically, the management at my new school that I joined in August have a very annoying habit of rejecting projects, denying authorization to participate in global projects. It doesn't matter how interesting, and usually I get the answer, yeah, it's all really interesting, but there's lots of hierarchy and bureaucracy involved with anything you want to do. So it has to go through all the different levels of management. It has to be approved and all these things. So it's a bit of a disheartening situation when it comes to trying to pull projects through. The school is very geared on national curriculum. Being a British school, we've got the IGCSEs and international A-levels as well. The parent expectations are huge because the school has a very good record of A's and A stars. So the school image is sort of also being a big issue to deal with. The exam training and the training for exams is basically what's focusing all the tuition and all the classes. So a lot of time is spent on training to get that A or A star. So there's a lot of marking, even more marking. So this makes time also a bit of a problem and a challenge. Teachers are very overloaded. The limbic systems basically shut down. And the minute you say something about any other project, it's usually met with not more stuff. No, we don't want anything else. We don't want to know anything more. We haven't got time. The school events as well. There's lots of school events going on, and they're like one after the other. So the rhythm and the rate of things going on at the school is very high. They already have things. It's very much the sort of, well, we've been doing this for I don't know how many years, so this is how we do things. The timetables are also very full. So these were the challenges and adversities I found this year. Now, what have I done to overcome this? Well, I think some of the things that you can do is, first of all, of course, I tried to communicate with the school and to seek out the stakeholders and see really, like, the people who are involved and who are responsible for things, if there was any way that I could get through there. I tried to look at what the school is projecting as their flagship. They put a lot of emphasis at teaching and creating students, making students into global citizens. So this is something that I obviously am incorporating a lot in my arguments, and I'm trying to push things through. You can adapt the texts in different mocks and practice exams, and we'll look into that in a second. Add questions on the SDGs in different ways, link topics with themes and current issues. You can spark debates. We can integrate warm-ups, fillers, or exit tickets that have to do with the SDGs. And we can also include a lot of thinking routines, analytical systems, creative systems, critical systems, all kinds of different ways of thinking, wall displays using the peripheral learning. And you could also try to offer after school or lunchtime clubs and show teachers and management, really show them physically how to integrate ESD in, for example, when you have observed lessons, you're being observed by your principal or something like that, you can actually take this opportunity to show how this can be done. Something that I know all advocates have been through, and thanks to Amanda's wonderful video on competencies that we all have had in our training as an advocate, we know that there's another way in as well. We don't only have to go in at face value, we can also focus on what's behind ESD. We can focus on the competencies and knowledge. So another way to get in, I found, was to put the effort and the focus on the thinking competencies. We also have the other ones here, like the anticipatory competence is something that obviously now, in particular after the pandemic, kids have realized, and teachers as well, that it's really important to understand and evaluate what's going on and what might happen in the future as well. Normative competence, reflecting on your own norms and values in our society, the actions we have to take if we want to do anything, how to collaborate with other people, and obviously not to take things as face value and be critical thinkers. And this applied to economy, society, and environment. So this is another way that I found that we can actually get the SDGs in, even if we have a school that's not very open to projects and things. So what have I done? This is an example. We work with the IGCSEs. So this is a very small, you have to excuse my very tiny little thing here, but I think most of you are familiar with national exams, whether it's the IGCSEs or the A-levels. So a Spanish first language IGCSE exam could be with paper one, question one, short answers based on a text. So what did I do? I changed the text. So I took, instead of using the texts that were given by the past papers or whatever, I made a new text based on UNESCO and Global Schools websites and created a text on sustainable development and sustainable education with sustainable development. I changed the questions, they're exactly the same format as the IGCSE questions, but I changed them so that they had to do with this text instead. So this is one way of doing it, just integrating the focus on SDGs and ESD into the text level, for example. You can also focus it on preparation materials. So for example, in this case, I wanted them to get the skills and techniques to be able to do a question one a paper one question two, which is a summary. So I needed them to learn how to summarize. So instead of just using the material that was available, again, I had two texts taken from UNESCO and from Global Schools with their little sources at the bottom, obviously, so kids could actually click to get more information if they wanted. And I made the material to take them through the skills and techniques instruction. So how they were, first of all, going to read the texts, then they had to apply what they needed for this question, and then do the summary. Obviously, the question hasn't changed, but the content has changed. And that's where I'm trying to get the SDGs to be part of it. The peripheral learning, I think, is very important too, which is like wall displays. Nobody's going to tell you not to put something on your walls. So you could have a wall display, daily reflection, for example. How could the work we've done today link in with different things, and why not with the SDGs? You could integrate it in something like maths, instead of having a problem focused on something that isn't as important perhaps, or that is less focused on the SDGs and on ESD, we could have, for example, a problem taken out of the World Wildlife Fund studies, or to express percentages, for example. Or in my case, I teach literature. I can use what I'm doing in the literature. For example, this year in year 8, I've been teaching Midsummer Night's Dream. It's got fairies living in a forest, perfect opportunity to integrate a focus on the characters by saying, for example, giving the kids the question, what actions would you need Theseus, who's a duke, to ask of his people to help preserve the habitat of the fairies. So that's another way as well that I'm finding that I can integrate the ESDs, the SDGs. Basically, you have to trust yourself that you can do this, even if you've got lots of things against you. I found that our superpower as advocates and as mentors is definitely resilience. Yeah. At the beginning, I was a bit disheartened by the rejections and by the school not being very willing to do stuff and to get projects on board. But my initial demotivation actually made me think, no, this is why we're here. We're here to try and open the minds of the schools that don't have a focus on this. So don't, I would say, don't allow the rejection and the challenges to get you down. Fuel your creativity instead. And there are actually lots of ways that we can do this. And as John Kabat-Zinn says, if you can't stop the waves, you can't stop these schools from being very narrow-minded, but you can definitely learn how to surf. So thank you very much. I'm open for your questions later on, and I hope this has also opened some ideas on how you can perhaps get into the cracks of that concrete.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful presentation there. And I believe all our audience are excited to hear some of those ways you're able to overcome challenges that you faced in your school. We'll hand over right now to Nia, and she'll take it from there. So welcome, Nia. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here together with you in this session. I'm Vice Principal and Global Schools Advocate for 21 year in my school. My school is in Istanbul, Turkey, and Hisar is a prestigious pre-K-12 school. It's a private school located in Istanbul, and there are over 1,550 students. And it's founded by Hisar Education Foundation, and it tries to be an exemplary educational institution in Turkey. We have a strong academic program in Hisar. We aim to educate the students as global citizens who think about world problems and can execute necessary strategies to find out solutions and make meaningful contributions to the planet. So United Nations Sustainable Development Goals constitute the compass of our school's educational philosophy.
Excuse me, Nihan? Sorry, Nihan.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you just stop sharing and reshare? Because I don't think it looks correct on our end.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Is this okay now?
Yes, I think that's much better. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you for reminding me. Okay. And I can say that starting from September 2021-2022 academic year, we started sustainability in Hisar studies under the umbrella of Innovation Center. We have special centers at school, so we are running the SDG studies under this center. And I may say that in August 2021, we participated in Global Schools program, and we signed this pledge, and we were 2 global school advocates at school. So we did series of trainings to teachers. We included 283 teachers into the trainings, almost all of the teachers, and we have introduced them the SDGs and ESD strategies. So education in Turkey is governed by a national system, and it's a state supervised system. So compulsory education lasts for 12 years, and primary and secondary education is financed by the state and free of charge in public schools. But Hisar, where I work, is a private school. So there are in private schools which are opened by real and corporate bodies of Turkish nationality, public education programs at pre-primary, primary and secondary education levels are given. So there's a national curriculum, and it is opened by real and there's a national curriculum that all the schools in Turkey implement. And in grade 8 and in grade 12, which are the last years of middle school and high school, students take exams to pass from middle school to high school and to pass from high school to university. So they are very busy getting ready with these exams. So in Hisar, we have 1,591 pre-K students. So around 110, they are grade 7. Around 109, they are grade 12 students, which are very busy getting prepared for the exams. Well, what I did in school under these circumstances, I carried out the sustainability training series, and there were different sessions of these trainings with the teachers at first. Because it was very crowded group of teachers, I tried to arrange these trainings in a flipped model. So I prepared videos and shared with the teachers and make them watch. And after that, in the following sessions, I came together with the teachers, and we talked about the goals and philosophies of each department through SDGs. And I requested them to identify 3 most important SDGs. And in the following session, we went over the SDG activities, and they have explained me their activities they were already running at school. So we also discussed with them the ways how to incorporate SDG and ESD curriculum with our own curriculum, because we cannot work on our curriculum because it's a national based curriculum. So they searched for some activities, some projects throughout the ESD curriculum, and try to find the similarities between our own curriculum and UN's ESD curriculum. We have made plannings for a year, and in Hisar, the academic staff uses understanding by design approach for preparing unit plans. Well, it's a structure, it's a framework for making a plan. So I asked teachers to view their framework from a different point of view, where they can embed ESD objectives too. So I asked them to realize they could enrich their plans with ESD approach. This was one way that I was trying to make teachers to see that it's very useful to embed ESD curriculum into their own curriculum without making any change, because there were of course lots of similarities between 2 curriculums, and it was really possible to do that integration. And of course, there are lots of issues in our school too, because the teachers are very crowded, so they are working in a large group of departments, and time is a big issue because they are running with their own curriculum. They are trying to finish their curriculum towards the end of the year. So, and there are some exams, of course. So most of the students are getting prepared for the universities abroad. So they have to write down essays, they have to collect their portfolio. As Patricia mentioned, there are lots of issues to cover in terms of implementing ESD curriculum. So I shared UN's SDG goals, learning objectives with the teacher and asked them to go over their own curriculum, see which objectives align with each other. So by doing this, I wanted to show them that it's possible to implement SDGs in their curriculum in some way. I also presented the emphasis of SDGs and ESDs for student learning to the school leaders. I wasn't a vice principal last year, but now because I'm in a part of administration team, I can provide some space and time for teachers to implement ESD curriculum as well. But last year, I made the school leaders to see that ESD curriculum and SDGs are very important points to be involved in the school teaching program. So they supported me by this way, and they also supported teachers to provide space and time to do their own projects. And the key idea, the key point to solve the issues in implementing ESDs and SDGs into curriculum, to show the teachers that it's an inclusive approach. In an inclusive approach, in my school, the course materials, as Patricia mentioned, I also ask the teachers to use the course materials related to SDGs, so they convert the text to SDG related text. For example, in science lessons, teachers are going over social scientific issues. So they linked all these issues, all these texts, or all these contexts with SDGs. And students clubs. There are lots of student clubs in our school, so it's very possible to integrate SDGs into student clubs. For example, there are lots of clubs in our school. They come together for 2 hours a week, and there are clubs related to science, mathematics, humanities, and computer sciences. For example, right now, a group of students from grade 8, the grade that the students are getting ready for the exam, that group is now in another city in the east part of Turkey, Kars, in Boğatepe village. They are experiencing the village life, and they are there to show their projects in renewable energy. So they are sharing their proposals with the village people in the village, and at the same time they are experiencing the village life and learning from the villagers and learning from the environment, the climate, those kind of things right now. And it's a really good experience. I'm following them with their photos. They will be back in school on Monday, and I'm looking forward to hear from their experiences. And there are some projects run with other schools from other countries too, because this brings the time concerns to the departments. They also integrate these kind of projects as a part of their own regular program. For example, modern language departments are cooperating with a school from Greece. Science department is cooperating with a school from Italy on the topic water. So they also have a chance to exchange culturally, which provides a very good space to go over lots of SDGs. So so by doing these kind of projects, or not specifically using separate time for these projects, but integrating all these work into clubs, in lessons, like regular flow of the year, students are really happy, because they like to learn in an environment where they are happy, where they are curious. So I agree with Patricia, being creative is a key point to solve these kind of issues. And we have to embrace the challenge. Nothing is very easy, but we can use the opportunity. We should see the opportunity to turn it to a good learning environment for students, turning it to good experiencing moments for students too. Thank you for listening to me too. I can answer your questions at the end of the session.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. I'm sure that some of our teachers might also have some questions, apart from the ones that have been sent to us earlier on. So please, if you do, please just send them on the WhatsApp, sorry, on the chat box, and we'll also try and attend to them. I would like to confirm if Vaka is here now. I can't see him in the call.
He's in the call, yep.
Okay, so I would like to hand over to Baraka to give his presentation before we go ahead to the Q&A session. So Baraka, over to you. Okay.
Can you?
Baraka, can you hear us? Okay. While we wait for him to come up with his presentation, probably we'll start and see if we could take some of the questions that we have here and see if any of our speakers will be able to provide some answers to them. Okay, like I said earlier on when we joined the call, and like we all know, we got some link to send some questions, and so many of us have been able to send some of those questions. So I'll take a few of them now while we wait for Parker to come up. The question
Emmanuel, I can see Canelos has his hand raised. Maybe Canelos, do you want to ask your questions?
Okay.
Hello, you call me Akis. I run a language school in Greece, and at the same time, I have been doing management research. I just would like at this stage to contribute to all this problematization about the stakeholders and how to convince people of what we're doing. As I said in previous online meetings, a key thing people should be aware of is that sustainability is closely related to transdisciplinarity. I would definitely recommend a book, the annual report by the Millennium Project. Well, it started as a UN initiative and then it became an independent organization where every year they publish this annual report, and on top of priorities comes sustainability, and it shows its connection with all other issues. I mean, a basic message we have to communicate to stakeholders is that sustainability is connected to transdisciplinarity. And this is top one priority all over the world, and UNSDG's teaching is contributing towards this task. The second thing I would like to stress is that the basic problem about the mindset has to do with the philosophical underpinnings of what has been going on. Even nowadays, scientific research is governed by the fragmented universe of René Descartes. I mean, the separation from matter and spirit, the separation of the church from the state, and all these work as an obstacle for people to understand how transdisciplinarity works and contributes to sustainability. I can make definite recommendations regarding articles that explain how all these things work together. Thank you. If anyone is interested in listening.
Okay, thank you so much for that contribution. And I think Baraka is ready now to go ahead with this presentation. So Baraka, let's have you now. Okay, also, Amanda, I think he would want you to share his presentation. I guess that's what I said.
Let's just confirm Baraka can hear us first. Baraka, are you there?
Hello, Amanda.
Hi, do you want me to share your screen? Sorry, share your presentation, excuse me?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just give me 1 second. And then we'll get started.
Green.
Oh, that's actually great. We can see it. Perfect.
See my screen now?
Mhm.
Yes, we can. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, a little bit. We have some challenge in Tanzania with electricity, so it has been very challenging for us. But thank you very much. First of all, I would like to appreciate for my fellow alumna advocate who has presented very well. And since they have touched in a very important angle, I will try to be very brief and directed to the point so that at least we get enough time for our friends to ask some questions. Yeah, my name is Baraka Mfilinge, an advocate, former advocate from Tanzania. Actually, I would like to start by sharing with a little experience that, in fact, all SDGs are intrinsically interlinked. And in order to achieve one SDG, you must make sure that one SDG impact the other, and therefore you must make sure that you interlink them in your teaching in the classroom. For instance, if you can read the principle 3 underpinning under SDGs is telling us about the issue of interconnected and invisibility. That means that whatever we want to achieve as the agenda to 2030, it must be interlinked to one another. Therefore, for us as teachers, we have to make sure that our teaching prioritizes the SDGs, because nowhere, I believe nowhere in a country, no matter it is curriculum guides us in terms of exams and whatever, but whatever we are teaching in the classroom, whether it is the issue of climate change, the issue of water, health, it's all about SDGs, not to Sustainable Development Goals. I remember first when I joined as an advocate with the Global School Program, it was indeed challenging to me, because the first when I introduced the program in my school, it was difficult for my staff, fellow staffs and teachers to accept that. And the issue was they were believing that I am being paid by the program, and therefore it is difficult for me to make sure that I encourage them to implement the program while I'm not giving them, I'm not dividing the cake that the program has given to me. It was challenging by then. However, also the school headmaster was too skeptical on the issue of the time required to implement the program. As you know that it is true that whatever curriculum, it is guided by the exams. So you are trying to, they always emphasizes to be focused on what is required to be taught in the class at the end of the day, because it is going to be tested during the final exam. However, I had to take some courageous heart and meet with the head of the school and try to talk to him about the issue of why is it important to incorporate the issue of ESD and the SDGs in the teaching and learning classroom, because these all, they are so important, because as we know that the SDGs is a world agenda, and therefore no country, no man has to be left behind. So it is important for all of us to understand that and make sure that we emphasize in the school administration. And then at the end, after a struggle of 1 month, the administration accepted, and my fellow teachers came to understand that I was trying to advocate something which is very important, which is very helpful to make sure that we achieve Agenda 2030. And the issue here is about education because it's an enabler. It is an integral part of implementing other SDGs. You won't say, I want to teach about the infrastructure. You won't say, I want to teach about health. You won't say, I want to teach about whatever, water and sanitation. But at the end of the day, they are grounded in education because the education is everything. And the people who are educated, they are able to make sure that they implement the other SDGs in a good manner. So how we can do now in order to make sure that you integrate the SDGs and the ECD in your teaching or in your classroom? Actually, first of all, ideally, make sure that the school administration is involved, no matter what, because it is the class that is going to take place in the classroom, and therefore you won't hide it. So make sure that you use whatever means to at least tell your administration that you are trying to integrate this because it is very essential. And at the end of the day, the students who are being taught there, they are going to be the citizen of tomorrow who needs to understand on how they are going to do what? To overcome the challenges that are related in their day-to-day life. So with the SDGs, it is easy for them to overcome those challenges that are found outside there. So first of all, what I did, I had to make sure that the administration and the teachers are well involved. And secondly, what I did, despite the fact that the curriculum nation and normally focus on the examination, but there are some parts in the curriculum that consist in the areas that are related to SDGs. For instance, there are issues of human rights. There are issues of the water and sanitation, as I told you. So those are issues that whatever subject you are teaching, you might teach because they are part and parcel of our daily life. And therefore, what I did, I started to integrate using the lesson plan that the global schools provided to us. It integrated some subject matters that are related and are found in our curriculum. So I had to teach them, especially when I was teaching the subject like civics. I had to integrate the area of human rights. And what I did, I had to take some of my students to the class I was teaching by then, it was Form 3. I had to take them to the Legon Human Rights Center, which is found here nearby our school. And then after there, I used the experts who has been advocating for human rights to make sure that they teach the students. The students there were so excited because it's something they will enjoy the environment outside of the class. But at the end of the day, my mission was accomplished as the students now were able to be taught and get the concept related to human rights. Another what I tried is actually normally try to tie the goals into the class you are already teaching. For instance, you can be teaching, let's say, English, for example. I heard my friend Patricia said she's teaching English. That means if you are teaching English, we know in English you teach whatever, whether novels or plays or dramas. Try to integrate. Let's say, ask the students to read the novel, and they should find how hunger has been spoken in that novel. Or if it is a mathematics class, teach the students how to calculate nutritional requirement in their body. Or whether, for instance, me, I was teaching history. I'm a history teacher. So by then I had to tell them how they can compare the historical characteristics of famine or whatever, famine or whatever outbreak that has been happening in the world. So that is the way I was trying to integrate them in day-to-day teaching and make sure that students, they enjoy while having not diversing from the instruction that the curriculum is trying to give us. Also, I had to ask the students to start. I established a campaign where I established a campaign to design some posters like drawing like rivers flows, knowing that how the rivers are important to human beings, how we can maintain them, who can help us to know how we can maintain these rivers in our country and whatever. So students became excited because I tried to interact with them in a way that they can enjoy the class, they can enjoy the session. Then at the end of the day, it was an amazing to me, and I successfully make sure that I implement or I engage them, and SDG were actually incorporated well. So in fact, one of the best ways in a country that we can localize this SDG is through education. No other way. And not just education, it should be a transformative education, since we know that we are teaching the younger people who are the next generation, who are the leaders of tomorrow. They are going to be decision makers. And therefore, if they don't know about these SDGs, they don't know about how they can integrate them, they cannot be a good thinker. And at the end of the day, they will not be able to solve the problem or the challenges the world are facing today. Therefore, schools, as a hub of this younger group, they have to make sure that they always are well equipped with these issues related to SDGs. And we teachers, we are responsible to make sure that everything is going to be addressed accordingly in a manner that everyone can enjoy. And actually, that's what I did. And going further, I had to decide to create. I used an artist, some of the students who knows how to sing and whatever. I made some songs in Swahili, as they know that they enjoy, we are Swahili speakers. I made some songs in Swahili, which were incorporating all 17 SDGs. So while the students were singing those songs, we are trying to master the SDGs, 1 up to 17. And they were able, even today, if you meet them and ask them, they're able to tell you one after another. And that's the way we can make sure that we enrich them and be able to achieve what we want to achieve. So actually, that's what in brief I wanted to share, because my friends have shared a lot. And indeed, because I know we have some questions, then when time comes, we will be able to answer those questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Baraka. Thank you so much. I can see some of the wonderful comments from our audience, like Leah. I can see from Ellen. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful presentation. I'm sorry that you had to face some challenges with your devices back there, but it's great we're able to have a wonderful presentation. So not to waste so much of our time, because we are far spent in time, I'll go straight to some of the questions that we have here. I cannot see any question in the chat box for now, so I'll go ahead and get some of the questions that we have here, and we'll have one of our speakers try to attempt to answer them. So the first question I'll be taking says, how can you involve the SDG into tests and exams? I can see one of the teachers, I think Marcella, posted that the school has an exam and she had to leave. So like, how can you involve the ESD in our tests and exams? So I'm actually directing that question to Patricia. Would you like to take that?
Of course. Yes. The way we can involve the ESD and SDGs into testing and examinations, the way I found is that you can do it mostly in the preparation stages. So you can involve the SDGs when it comes to focusing on the preparation materials and how you're going to go about the skills and techniques that you're going to use for the exams. That's really the place where you can integrate the SDGs at your own sort of discretion, no? That you can choose what you're integrating. Something else I would really encourage people to do, if they are an examination school, an examination center, is to contact their examination board and see if they are willing to introduce more texts and more information about current issues, and in particular that have to do with a focus on SDGs. So they could perhaps make the actual exams more focused on it, but that's not really in our hands as teachers to do. So as teachers, I think, creating the practice materials and integrating a focus, perhaps adding a question when you're doing any type of integration in the practice materials, or you're practicing techniques or whatever, integrate those thinking skills, integrate those competencies, and try to focus on how the text can be adapted.
Thank you so much. Nia, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, it's using the testing materials, actually the practice materials can be incorporated with SDGs. So it's all about introducing the SDG to the students in several ways. Well, we shouldn't show that the content of testing and the content of ESD, SDG are separate things. We can always integrate SDG related tasks, readings, practices into any learning material, I believe. So I try to do the same thing in my school too. I think that would be a good idea to enrich the course materials with SDGs. That would be a good idea. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think there was one other question that had to do with exams, so I'll take that now. It says, how do you integrate the SDGs in schools when the school system feels it is not set in national examination? I think related to the first question. So like, if your school feels this is not part of the exams, so why should you teach them? I think, Baraka, I don't know if you want to take that question or Patricia.
Yeah, okay. Actually, Ima, I think normally to integrate is, as we have been presenting here, I think someone would have gotten an opportunity and insight of that. Actually, you need to create an entertaining groups which dealing with the provision of education concerning SDGs. I know that in schools we have different programs. For instance, in our schools we have some free time. I know that in a whole week you don't teach all the week. There are some of free lessons are left free in our timetable that I normally try to use. That I create an entertainment group that are trying to use their creative students trying to use their creativity to integrate the SDGs and at the end of the day to understand them. For example, as I said previously, for me, I use those free lessons to prepare simple Swahili songs, which we are incorporating all SDG. And this made students learn through singing. That we are in a way that it was entertaining and they were able to enjoy while understanding what is supposed to be done. That's what I did.
Oh, thank you so much, Baraka. Lillian, I can see your hand being raised up for some minutes now. Do you want to ask a question?
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. Not a question,
welcome.
but maybe thank you, to just add a point on what Baraka has shared. Most of us have received rejection when it comes to the implementation of the education for sustainable development in our schools. Basically, for me, what has worked is ensuring that in as much as there is that bit of rejection, I become tactful in the way in which I implement these particular activities. Getting time during the normal school activities can be hard, and therefore you have to be creative and get time out of the normal programs. Secondly, once you've carried out the activities, make sure that you're visible. Visibility also matters. So most of the times I've tried as much as possible to share the activities with the school administration so that they're also aware of what is happening. And most importantly, make sure that you are excellent in each and everything that you are doing. Otherwise, if you present mediocrity, nobody would even be ready to support the programs. Lastly, remember to support other projects or activities in school so that you're also supported, because it becomes very hard for the school to support you if you are not supporting what the school is doing. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that intervention, Lillian. I will take one question from the chat box. The question is coming from Oyegoga, who is also a learner for the Global Schools Program. He said, Patricia, could you please share a little bit more on the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations that keep you focused at your ESD implementation tasks despite the initial rejection? What is the acceptance level now in your school? I don't know, Patricia, if you got that question correctly, or should I go over it again?
What I'm understanding is that you want to know the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, but of me as a teacher being rejected, or of the students.
Yeah, as a teacher, like the
Okay.
rejections you had at the beginning.
Okay, at the beginning, obviously, it's very demotivating, and that's why at the beginning, you get the impression that you're hitting a brick wall all the time, because in difference to my fellow speakers here, Nihan and Baraka, my school is really not on board at all. They haven't signed the pledge. The school I was at before, they did amazing things, and hopefully I'll bring this one to do amazing things too. But right now, they just they want to sort of project their image of being a school that's very involved in things, but their focus really is on getting exam results. So the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation basically comes from myself feeling this is an important thing, and that's what is keeping me going and what made me be very resilient. Because when I sat down and thought about it, I thought, no, I'm not going to have them just put me in a box and not do what I want to get through here, you know. So it made me actually want to fight more, but I had to find a more intelligent way of fighting, because just presenting projects is just not enough in the school, because they all find it extremely interesting. Everything is extremely interesting. Very good. Yeah, we'll have a look for next year. Yes, fine. If we think that way, we're going to get to 2030 thinking about next year, you know. So this is something that sort of, you know, fuels me on, at least, you know, thinking we don't have the time to just wait for next year. So I'm going to have to do something to integrate it. So basically the motivation is more intrinsic than extrinsic. The extrinsic one obviously comes from being part of a supportive network like Global Schools and like with all the advocates, because that helps you realize that what you're doing is important, and there are lots of things going on and people are getting there as well, working with your mentees as well, all the wonderful things they're doing. So I've changed my initial demotivation into being more of a very set focus on getting this school to get on board, whether it's in one way or another. So I think, you know, that's the part I had to do with motivation. Can you remind me of the second part of the question, Emmanuel?
The second part is asking what is the level of motivation now?
Now, in me?
Yes.
Oh, I have really, really high motivation, because I'm definitely set on, I'm
The
going
level
to
of
get...
acceptance, sorry.
Sorry?
The level of acceptance. Like
Acceptance.
what's the level of acceptance?
The students are accepting it very well. And in fact, I'm getting into these little cracks in the system. As I said in my initial presentation, working through competences and getting them to think, to be analytical, critical, creative thinkers, to work on their collaboration, on making them be more caring, because some of the school values are the ones that I've seen as a gateway as well to be able to work on this. So they've got their school values. So what I do is I integrate the focus with the school values as well. The after school clubs, I've just given in a proposal for a club that indirectly will focus on SDGs. Obviously, it's right now the actual focus on it. It couldn't be directly on, because the school is they just find difficulties. I think it's more got to do with ignorance than anything else. They don't really know how this can be done. So I need to show them that it can be done without more work being piled onto people. So this is really the key to it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that intervention. Because of our time, I will take some questions here from the form that was filled, and probably look at the chat box for more other questions. This question is more of localizing the SDG. It says, how do you think we can advocate to how do you think we can advocate to local education boards to more actively include the ESD in local national curriculum? So how can we advocate for inclusion of the ESD to the SDGs to the national curriculum by advocating to the local boards? I think Baraka would like to take this, or Nian.
Okay.
Is the question for me? Sorry, I missed. Okay. Mhm.
No, I'm just saying, actually, if Baraka would like to take this question,
Yes.
probably you also. Okay.
Hello?
Can go with Baraka.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It means actually SDG testing exam. Actually, we need to advise the government. By the way, however, this is a long-term plan to create a curriculum which is include SDGs. I remember, for me, for instance, in our country, last week I was having my graduation, master graduation. I was graduating, and we were with the president of the country. And one of the issues that was critically raised during our graduation was that we needed to redesign our curriculum to make sure that we integrate these issues. I was so happy and excited to hear this statement. And our president was trying to encourage most of the teachers to specialize in the area of curriculum so that they can help the country to redesign their curriculum and at the end of the day to incorporate this. Another issue is the issue of actually, we need to make sure that as education agencies in our country, in particular, should add a direct question concerning the ESDG. This is actually it's a long-term plan again, but as an advocate, we need to advocate it in our country to know that we need to prepare some questions which are related to SDGs. However, we have those questions, but they are not direct, and people feel that they are not there. But whatever you can teach, whether it is the issue of, as I told you previous, whether it's the issue of human rights, water and sanitation, health and well-being, and whatever, they are linked to SDG. So I think in that way we can do that. Lastly, I can see the issue of that as a teachers, we need to be more creative. There is enough room to ask to integrate these issues. Because you can, in your, it can be during test exams, you can ask some question related to climate action. Why not you can ask a question related to water and sanitation? Why not you don't ask question related to health? Are those prohibited by your curriculum? Or it's a matter of us being creative and find the best way we can incorporate them? I think those are the matters for us, for ourselves, we need to ask and overcome these challenges that are trying to prohibit the program to go on. I don't think, I think I have answered if I was clear with that question.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. I'll take another question that seems to relate to government policies on curriculum and the likes. So this question says, national curriculums are put in place by those in power to perpetuate their own agenda. How can ESD fit into the curriculum where the government in power has not prioritized them, and that introducing them as limited support? I think Patricia or Nian, any of you can answer this question. Sorry, Nian, would you like to take this question? Did you get the question? Yeah.
Okay, well, SDGs fit in the curriculum in several ways. I see that in Turkey, there are lots of topics related to SDGs, but they are not specifically pointed in the curriculum as these are related to SDGs. But when teachers work on the curriculum, when teachers work on their own plans, and when they have chance to go over UN's ESD objectives, learning objectives, they realize that there are lots of similarities between those two objectives. So I had a chance to work on UN's ESD learning objectives with the teachers in our school. So I requested them to go over of each and find the similarities between their own curriculum. So teachers has the power, they have the power to integrate all ESD curriculum into their own unit plans, specifically pointing out several related SDGs according to their units. But I agree with the idea in one comment from the chat that while ESD competencies and ESD learning objectives should be mentioned separately in national curriculums too.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for that intervention. So I would want to direct the question this way, because I see the first question and this other question not just talking about doing the ESD activity, they are talking about how can they not just include it by themselves, but how can it be included in the country's curriculum? How can they advocate for pushing such policies that will be lifted in the curriculum? And I don't know if Patricia could answer in that light. You are muted, I think.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. The way the curriculum is, sorry, could you just repeat the part? I was a bit distracted.
Okay, so what I was saying is that I see we have talked a lot about how teachers could go ahead and do ESD activity without inclusion in the curriculum. So I think this is the fourth question, and like Baraka said, this country is already thinking of doing that. So this teacher is asking, if the government is not interested, just in the way Baraka's government is interested in Tanzania, but if the government is not interested, how can the teachers advocate for the inclusion of the ESD into the country's curriculum?
Okay. Well, I think we have to separate a little bit what's in our hands and what's not in our hands directly. We should focus on the things that we directly can do, because otherwise we're probably going to get demotivated as well, because dealing with local governments and with ministries of education can be very complicated. So the way to do so, I think, would be first on a micro scale. So we'd have to sort of escalate up into the different levels. I think the focus, first of all, is like it's like when you do anything, no, on your local space, and then go into the community, go into the local area, go into the country as such. I know some of the advocates have been able to do some great work at this level and getting actually access to governments and local governments, and to try and have an effect on the legislation. I think that's brilliant. That's great. I don't think all countries are really open to that though, but that when it's a possibility, I think that's definitely the way in, to try and get people in government to realize the importance of this. And also, I think one of the key things is that we have to put the focus on the integration, because one of the big problems here is that people think that it's something that's added on. No, it's actually in everything. And as Akis was saying, as Baraka was saying, as Nian was saying, everybody, we all know this. It's everywhere. It can be linked to absolutely everything. And SDG obviously 17 with the collaborations. I mean, this is what everything is about. This is what life is about. We do this on a daily basis. So I think more than having it specifically included is to make people realize that it is included, and maybe include a more direct reference to it, so that they realize that actually we're already doing this, but we might not be linking it properly. So perhaps getting it first to our local levels, but then try and focus on higher levels. Definitely, I think that should be our aim, as in the advocacy course, no, that we start off with our schools, go into the community, and then expand it to the world. So the fact that this network is growing and that people are getting on board, and the enthusiasm that is here, I think this is part of the key to success when it comes to really getting through to local governments and to ministries of education.
Okay, thank you so much for that intervention. And Shubra, I see your hands raised up, and I see you asked for to make some contribution. Please, I would like you to be quick and brief about that, because we're having fun spend time. After this, I'll take one question from the chat box. Probably we'll begin to wrap up from there.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia, Nian, and Baraka, for your wonderful presentations. They were really informative. I thought I would share with, I'm from Singapore, and thankfully I'm at an international school in Singapore, which is very open to the idea. So yeah, the journey for me was much less challenging. I could persuade my management, I could talk to the principal, and they were on board immediately. My school has gone on to sign the Global Schools Pledge, so we are part of the network. There were several clubs already running at school that were related to SDGs, but now, the program has become more cohesive. What I have done is to make everyone familiar and aware of the SDGs. Ours is a huge school with around 3,000 students, K-12 curriculum. And there are actually 4 schools that run within the institution, which is kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and high school. I teach economics at high school, but I ran workshops in all 4 schools to introduce SDGs, ESD, and the Global Schools program across schools. Of course, I was able to do it because of my overseas family school management, and that has made everyone familiar. Another thing that we have done is we have on request, because I don't want to be wasting paper when we don't have to, on request, we printed some posters with SDGs, and whoever requested, they have been given to those teachers, and they have, like, almost all classrooms have them now. So whatever the teachers are teaching, because in my workshop, a part of it was to make a lesson plan to integrate an SDG into their lesson, any subject. The IB curriculum, thankfully, already has a lot of SDG focus. So in economics also, I know it is a topic that I cover as part of the curriculum, but being a global schools advocate, I try to integrate it into whatever topic I teach. Economics is an easy subject to integrate every SDG into, so that has helped. I can talk about responsible consumption, production, poverty, food, in any, like, or all of these in my lessons.
Okay.
I can also talk about stakeholders. So it has been useful. And like Patricia said, we go the micro way and we take one step at a time. After that, what I do, when the school was on board, we have asked every club to show what SDGs they are focusing on. We run multiple clubs across our school, and every club now, so we have, and my school also has solar panels installed now. So part of our power will come from solar energy. I'm also trying to get the school to eliminate plastic use or limit plastic use as much as possible. We are running campaigns into the canteen, etc. And these are run by students, student participation, so that the change happens, in the long run also. It's not just that I do it. Yeah. So there's a club that's making eco bricks. So with waste plastic material, they're making bricks and they're making seats to sit on. And then there are, and then now started, I also wrote a paper on I've written actually 3 papers on sustainable development, but this year I wrote one, which I presented at IISD. And that talks about bridging sustainability across institutions. So specifically the question that was asked, how do you integrate other stakeholders? This is what I have done a research on different projects that are being done between schools, universities, different companies and schools and institutions. So I highlighted those projects and the impact that those can have. And I'm also trying to get in touch with the Singapore government to get on board. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so they have also responded positively. So let's see how.
Okay, thank you so much, Shubhra, for that wonderful intervention. I'm sure you are willing to share some of these papers with the rest of the advocates. You can always share a link via the Facebook or also via email. Thank you so much. We'll have this last question and we'll wrap up for today. I think Patricia would have this one, take this one for us. Now the question says that are there any ways to measure the impact of the ESD at some point? Students, teachers, and parents don't want to participate in the ESD because there is no measurable outcome, like a grade being given by a governing body. So how can we motivate them through giving them grades or measuring their input?
Okay, I think this can be approached in different ways because we can have different levels again here. One way to see the impact of ESD as a whole school and in the curriculum is obviously the fact that our students will show certain characteristics and certain traits that we obviously are looking for, like getting the caring more for their environment, or more aware of what needs to be done. They are usually the ones taking home the ideas that they then try and get their own parents on board with. So I think we've got like an observable result that we can see in the impact. But then when it comes to the second part, that students and everybody gets, they don't want to participate because there's no measurable grading or anything like that. I think you could probably set in a system of like merits based on the SDGs, or you could set in a system with certificates based in on the. I know that Stephanie, for example, one of my lovely mentees, in her school in Spain, for example, the whole school can get into a certificate program where, if I'm not wrong, they can also get more measurable accounts from how the school is getting on and how the students are getting on. In my old school, in IB schools, for example, I think it's quite easy to get the measurable side because it's integrated into the IB. So in an IB school, the focus on the SDGs and the ESD being integrated is there already at all levels, with the CAS activities, with the focus on the learner profile and everything else. So I think there are ways there is actually a focus on the measurable effects. It would be interesting as time goes on to find perhaps different indicators that could be used all over the world in all the schools that take part, for example, in global schools, to see what the impact of this program is in the schools, because I think it has a huge impact. So, so yes, different levels again. And on a small micro level, we could create a certificate program. We can integrate the merit system. We can integrate a point system in our grading system, perhaps as well. That's, you know, a certain criteria could be linked to the focus on SDGs in the work that they're doing. But for that, you need to have the school on board.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Patricia. I'm afraid we would have to wrap it up now. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions by the chat box. I can see somebody raising his hand, but I'm afraid I don't know if you take that. But at this point, I'll hand over to Amanda. I think Amanda is here. So hand over to Amanda, and okay, thank you, Amanda. You're here.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I just want to take a quick photo of everyone as usual, just to celebrate this time together and everything that we heard from the wonderful speakers. So please turn on your cameras quickly for a photo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, hold on. I think everyone's ready. Okay, everyone looks ready now. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go to the next screen quickly, and 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you everyone so much. We will send the recording around, of course, and we will send out the December updates email. If you have other things to share about what you're doing in your schools, like these wonderful advocates and alumni, please feel free to reach out. We're always happy to have other people from the network do a presentation on a topic that you feel you can contribute to the rest of the group. So yes, that's all on my side. Kendra, anything from you?
Nope, we will be sending out the December updates email this weekend, so do please keep an eye out for that. But we are entering your last month for the current advocates. We're entering your last month of your official advocacy, so let's make it the best month yet. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think at this point you could put up your mic, say bye and hello and all of that. And I think after that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing, learning much and ready to share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Nigeria. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Desiree.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Elena, hi, Nigeria.
Bye.